Hello!
Hello!
Welcome to Ask a Reporter for another week. My name is Nathan and I'm the short one on the side here.
Yes.
And this is Jack and he's very
I'm the tall one.
which means we need to move the camera back so that I don't look so short.
I could slouch.
Could you slouch? That would make me feel better. Jack is a fairly new reporter on Behind the News, so firstly, welcome Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Today you have done a story on, or this week you've done a story on North Korea.
Yes.
Do you want to give us just a brief outline of what the story was roughly about?
Yeah, so the story was looking at, over kind of the holidays and the break, North Korea kind of sent out a few threats towards some other countries, and they also threatened Australia. So the story was kind of looking at what those threats were, what we know about North Korea, and why I guess we shouldn't be too worried about that. So yeah, and there are a few reasons why we shouldn't be too concerned about North Korea, but all the same, everything should be taken seriously, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of be alert, not alarmed.
Yes, yeah.
For lack of a better phrase.
So it was a bit of an explainer on what's going on at the moment.
Very good. Now, we've got heaps of questions here from you guys, so we're going to jump to those really quickly. But if you want to send any through the broadcast, just add the hashtag #AskAReporter, and I will get them right here, and I will hit them up to Jack straight away. Or, hypothetically, if you wanted to just know more about Jack, because he's quite new, you can just ask about Jack too. So we can do North Korea and Jack.
That's two very different topics, but both interesting.
Probably some
hopefully.
Similarities. Probably not.
Probably not.
No. Right, let's jump into it. First question today is from 5F, and they've asked, why does North Korea want to attack Australia? Good question.
Good question. Hi, 5F. So North Korea North Korea's media sent out a statement saying that they were kind of like a threat to Australia, that they might attack, and that was because of us showing support to America. So Australia and the US have this alliance that goes all the way back to is it World War II?
Yeah, Battle of the Coral Sea.
Battle of the Coral Sea,
75
which was actually
years.
Yes, it's 75 years.
Yesterday, technically. Yes.
Yes. So and there was a story last week or this week as well.
Watch it.
So yeah, so because of that alliance and because we have this support for America, the US kind of said that we're following the US blindly and that we should watch what we're saying and we should watch our support. And that was kind of the threat, because North Korea and America, or the US, don't get along that well.
No.
Yes, no.
Very well done.
So it was nothing necessarily that Australia had done or said, but it was just kind of that support and saying that I guess they don't like that we're allies with the US.
Yeah, it's not like we're threatening them particularly.
No, not directly.
You know, Australia is supportive of things like trade sanctions, which means that people make rules that make it harder for that country to buy things and sell things in and out of the country.
Yeah.
So we're supportive of those things, but it's not like we're directly threatening them. No. It's more of our relationship with the US, as you said.
Yeah.
Next question. Philip wants to know, why is Japan and South Korea threatened by North Korea more than others?
Well, the simplest answer would be because they are literally right next to North Korea. So South Korea shares a border south of North Korea, and then Japan is right next to it. So that's really the main reason, and they would be more under threat, I guess, because we do know that North Korea has tested missiles that can reach those countries. So at the moment they can't really reach any other countries, but they are kind of within that region, and it is because they're so close. North Korea and South Korea also, there's quite a bit of tension between the two of them as well. However, I did talk to an expert on North Korea, and she said to me that in South Korea they're not as worried and they're not as concerned as people in Japan. So, and she said they're kind of, I think one of the biggest things you should remember is North Korea threatens countries all the time, and a lot of it's all just talk. So I think South Korea, possibly she was saying, is kind of just pushed it to a side a bit, and they're not going to worry as much, but they're definitely, I guess, the closest countries to North Korea, and they would be more likely to be attacked if something did ever happen.
If your class wanted to do some extra research on this topic, finding out the history between North and South Korea and North Korea and Japan, it is a story that goes back many years, and there is a lot of tension and conflict in the past. So if you wanted to do some more research into that as a class, it would be a very interesting topic. So I would recommend that. What's that, sorry?
Of the story?
Possibly.
Possibly do.
Daniel was just, Daniel, our web developer here that sits here and helps you with questions, is just looking for other stories that we might have done on that in the past. So he will put links if there's anything relevant. But also, plenty of resources on the internet there as well. So do some research, have a look. There's some very interesting tales to be told.
Yes.
Gus wants to know, how long has North Korea been poorly treating their own people?
Hi,
and
Gus.
in what ways, I suppose, too?
Yeah, good question. Well, I guess, I mean, it's an interesting question, because you could probably say they've been poorly treated since North Korea became a country at the end of the Second World War or the First World War.
The Korean War.
The Korean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. But it's been ever since Kim Il-sung, so that's the grandfather of Kim Jong-un, so since he was the leader there, and I guess it's a very controlled country, so most people don't have access to internet, they don't have access to foreign television, a lot of people aren't allowed to leave the country, and there's a lot of people at risk of starvation there, and a lot of that is because they're kind of told from birth that they've got this great leader and that their country's great, but they need that leader to protect them from the outside world. So I guess that's kind of why I don't know why they're controlled in that way, because they are told that it's like if you leave, then there's badness out there in the outside world.
Yeah, and can you imagine living in a world today where you don't know that much about the world outside? Like, it's so hard for us to picture. I wouldn't be able to imagine it at all. I wouldn't. And so that makes it very hard for them to compare living conditions in other countries with their own.
Yeah. Yeah, so they, exactly. Like, if you can't even watch a TV show that's set in America, you'd have no idea what America was like if you never travelled there. Or the same with the UK or anywhere. So they are pretty much cut off, or a lot of people are cut off from the rest of the world. So that's why it keeps it's kind of, North Korea, I guess, is in its own little bubble.
Yeah, and that's why you get people trying to escape North Korea at times and try to, escape across the border or smuggle themselves out of the country to try and, get to safety, basically. Because not only are they treated poorly, but it's also very dangerous living there because, you have killings of people that, say negative things about the leader there. You have all of those horrible situations.
So you can't, it's also against the law to speak out against the government there. So, it's not the nicest place to be, I guess.
I think, yes. Although, interestingly, you can be a tourist in North Korea.
Yeah, you can go there on holidays.
They'll only show you the things they want to show you.
Yeah.
It's very strictly controlled and you can't go anywhere without your tour guide. But you can go there as a tourist, strangely enough.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't go now.
I probably wouldn't.
No. It seems a little dangerous at this point. But so if you were thinking about a holiday to North Korea, maybe reassess.
Yeah.
Just for a while.
Put it off for a year.
Yeah.
So.
Next question, 5F wants to know, how long will it be until we're in any real danger from North Korea? Do we have any idea?
Look, no, not really. It's really hard to know, and that was something that I kind of was trying to research and find out, but short answer is no, we don't actually know. All we can do is kind of wait and see what happens and see what the US does and what China does, because China has a big role in this as well, and the US and Australia has asked China to kind of step in because they do have a good relationship with North Korea, and kind of asked them to calm down. So I guess the only thing we can go off is that they have been threatening countries with nuclear weapons for a long time, and nothing has ever come from it. So yeah, I don't really have an answer for that.
No, I suppose the main thing that we wanted to get across to you guys is it's nothing that you need to be stressed about right now.
Yeah.
If things change and there is a situation where we do get direct threats that experts think they might be able to carry out, then, you know, we will tell you that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you will hear about it from, you know, parents and teachers and on the news too. But for now, it's something that if you hear what they say, it sounds really terrifying.
Yeah.
But we just want you to know that it's not necessarily as terrifying as the statement makes it
and
sound.
North Korea does like to boast about how powerful they are and how many weapons they've got, or how strong they are, and how you know, strong their military are. But that, a lot of experts say that is just all for show. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the hard thing about this too, is because they don't let, you know, that many journalists or other people or experts into the country to actually check this stuff. A lot of it is just people having to try and, you know, decipher what's happening from the outside, which is very tough to do.
Yeah, and like journalists that do get let in, I was watching a documentary, they get, like, if it's anywhere official, or if there's like a ceremony going on, they have like a strict square where they have to stay and they can't move out of there, and it's very controlled where they go and what they see.
Yeah, and you don't want to not follow the rules.
Yes.
Next question from 5F. Why does the USA help us? Now, you touched on it before, but can you just give us a bit of an overview of that again?
Yes, so the US during World War II kind of came to Australia as assistance after Pearl Harbor was bombed, because the US had a military base set up there. So Japan bombed Australia in World War II, and we kind of called on the US to come and help us, which the US did, and there was a battle of the Coral Sea, which is what it's called, 75th anniversary. You'll find out all about it if you watch the video. But so ever since then, we've just had a really strong military friendship, but also kind of a trade friendship. We're good friends with the US.
Yeah.
And what, 75 years?
75
years strong.
Through
So,
many wars and conflicts since then too.
Yeah, so that's why, as I said at the beginning, North Korea did send out a threat to Australia because of that friendship, basically.
Yeah. This is from Flemington Primary School now. We'll go to their questions. What would happen if North Korea actually launched a missile at a country? So if they actually carried out one of these threats, especially to, you know, a country like South Korea or Japan, the USA would come to their aid, wouldn't they?
Yes. So the South Korea has an alliance with the US as well. So the US would come to their aid, and they've got quite a strong military presence there. So, which is, I guess, why North Korea doesn't like South Korea as well, because the US is so involved. So yeah, definitely there would be, the US would be there straight away to support South Korea. But hopefully that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are trying to work to a resolution that doesn't mean violence in this situation, because that doesn't help anyone. It's not like anyone wants to go to war. It's a very expensive situation, and it's obviously a very tragic situation. And so there are a lot of countries that are working to try and resolve this peacefully as they can, but it's a very complex one, because
it is very complex.
The leader of North Korea is very hard to know how he's feeling and what he wants out of any particular situation. Flemington Primary School wants to know, why does North Korea want to target Australia? Again, we talked about that, but can you give them a bit of a summary on that one again?
Again, the US, it's because of the whole, you know, our government and our political leaders do support the US quite strongly, and they support actions and that the US makes. So that North Korea doesn't like that. They don't like that we're following the US and supporting them with the decisions that they're making. And so they kind of, I guess it's just a way to hopefully, I guess they're trying to weaken the US's alliance and support that they have around them. So if they're by threatening us, they're hoping that we would back off and not support the US. But like, we have a very strong friendship with the US, and if anything did happen, just like in South Korea, the US would be right there to support us as well.
Yeah.
So they're a good friend to have.
Absolutely. Flemington Primary School wants to know, do the citizens of North Korea agree with North Korea's actions, and I suppose the actions of the leader?
Yes, I wouldn't be able to speak for a lot of them, for everyone, but they most certainly do, and that is because they are, again, their environment that they live in is so controlled, and they're so shut off from the rest of the world that all they know is what their leader is telling them. And there's all, like, it's from birth they're kind of told that they need this leader, Kim Jong-un. They need him to protect them, and so every decision that they make they fully support, and they often hold big parades, and they love these big ceremonies and parades, and everyone there sings and claps and cheers. So there's definitely a lot of support from the people there, despite the fact that a lot of people don't get treated very nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Those parades, I've never seen anyone marching in such unison.
Their marching is incredible. It's, and there's a little hop in it. It's very well timed, very well rehearsed.
They lead the world in marching in unison.
They do.
It's an art form
there's quite a few shots of that in the video, in the story that I did. So if you go back and have a look, you can see those. The marching in style. Evelyn wants to know, is there anything countries can do about North Korea? Good question, Evelyn. I guess countries can be... It's kind of hard to say, because as I mentioned, like, the threats coming out of North Korea, they should be taken seriously, but they should also probably be taken with a grain of salt. So you don't want to ignore anything that North Korea is saying, but you don't want to overreact with anything. So it's really, I guess, it's about countries being aware of what's going on, strengthening the alliances that they have. At the moment, I think I mentioned it before, but the US and Australia have asked China to step in and talk to North Korea and say, hey, what's going on, buddy? Can we calm down a bit?
Take it down a notch.
So at the moment, that's really, I guess, all countries could do.
Yeah, well answered. I completely agree. Flemington Primary School wants to know, and this is the last question that we have on North Korea for today. What would North Korea gain from bombing out other countries? Like, is there anything to gain from this?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it's a good idea to bomb anyone or
You've
any
heard it
country.
here first. Jack, not a fan of bombing people.
I guess at the end of the day, it would be them just showing how if they do have the weapons that they say they have, it's showing that they've got that power and they're not to be messed with. So really, I mean, also North Korea is quite a poor country, so I guess if they were bombing another country, it would be to gain wealth of some sort.
Possibly, but
it's a tricky question. Power. It'd be that power that they would gain from that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, most of what North Korea's leader seems from the outside, and experts seem to suggest, is he wants legitimacy in power, which means he wants everyone in his country to see him as the world's strongest leader, because that's what he tells them.
Yeah.
He is the world's strongest leader. Unfortunately for him, that's not true. And so while he says all of these big things and tries to develop weapons to show how powerful he is, you only have to look at the number of nuclear weapons that people like Russia and the US have, as opposed to the 10 that it's estimated that North Korea have.
They have Russia and America have around 8,000. So really, they wouldn't gain anything from bombing anyone, because they aren't the most powerful country out there. And I guess it at the moment anyway, it wouldn't be a very smart move on their behalf.
Anything that gives other countries a reason to go in there and either, set off bombs themselves, or to go in and take over the country in a way. Anything that gives other countries an excuse to do that is obviously going to be a bad thing for North Korea.
Yeah.
So at this stage, and this is why experts seem to suggest that we don't have that much to worry about right now, because North Korea has so much to lose if there was a war or there was fighting, because they are a small country with vastly inferior military and technology compared to some of the countries that they would be fighting. Like, Japan and the US and Australia and Australian troops. So that's why experts say, look, at this stage, especially in Australia here, it's not anything to worry about right now. But it's something that if there is a change, we will tell you about and we will let you know.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank
Very
you
much
for your
appreciate it.
questions, everyone.
Before we go, though, I want to ask you quickly about your story for next week.
Okay.
So what are you covering for next week?
Next week, I'm doing a story on the Kazakhs. So they're a group of people who live in eastern, it's around Mongolia, China, Eastern Europe, and they have this tradition of eagle hunting. So they have these golden eagles that they take out on their arms, which hunt for them. So because where they live, and you'll see it, it's very isolated, it's very dry, there's no vegetation, there's no water anywhere, so food is very scarce, so they take out eagles to hunt foxes and wolves and rabbits. But that's pretty amazing itself. But the other amazing thing, and what what I focus on is a girl in the story called Akbota, and she is 14 years old, and she's training to be an eagle hunter. She's also one of the very few girls who get trained to be an eagle hunter, so it's pretty cool. And when you see her compared to the eagle's almost the size of her, so it's pretty incredible that she can command an eagle to land on her arm.
It is an amazing story. We've got that from our friends at Foreign Correspondent, who travelled over there to get this story of this 14-year-old girl, so it's definitely one to watch. So we'd encourage you to do that. Also, Jack is starring in another story next week.
You won't see it, though.
You won't see it. You will see a very interesting monster in our show next week, and I think that's about all I need to say, really. Stay tuned.
Instagram
you will see, there's some clues on Instagram, or if you follow us on Snapchat, or no, ABC Me on Snapchat, you will see more of the monster that will be on the show next week.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It looks like a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see.
It might be
the
embarrassing,
finished product.
but my face is covered.
Oh,
I guess now you know.
Now you know. It's okay. The monster is Jack. The really tall, scary monster is Jack next week. It's hilarious, so please tune in for that. And that's part of our budget story for next week, because the federal budget is being released. Yay! Yeah, maybe not. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thank you very much again, Jack.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week for more Ask a Reporter.
See ya.
Bye.